Hello, it's Cam Forbes, General Manager of Remax Realtron. My video today is about FINTRAC. So this is an update video for 2018 for FINTRAC. So good news, this is not going over all the requirements of FINTRAC. Aren't you glad? It's just highlighting the few key things where we find there to be more questions, more need for clarification from you, our agents, and you, our staff. So in that regard, first and foremost, if you're ever in doubt, talk to Wanda Ellens, who is our compliance officer for FINTRAC. If in doubt, contact Wanda. Now, having said that, the first thing I wanted to talk about is related to identifying a client. So there's two things that we've been found to generally be missing on our client ID forms. One is the postal code. So please, please, please put the postal code on the form. Secondly is the occupation. So what they want, FINTRAC, is a specific occupation. So if you're dealing with a teacher, don't put teacher, put down public high school teacher. Okay, good, you got it, I know you got it. So from there, what I want to focus in on is more things that you need to clarify or you've been asking questions about. So number one is identifying a company. So when you identify a company, you actually have to also identify the individual or individuals who are signing off on the offer. So you got to do two forms. You got to do the entity identification form and the individual identification form. So do both forms. That's something new, I think, to most of you, so please ensure you do that. And again, if you have any questions, talk to Wanda. Second thing is, so when you're identifying a company, they want you to look at two different source documents. The first is just simply to identify and make sure the person signing the offer has the authority to do so, so they're a signing officer of the company. To do that, you can look at the Articles of Incorporation, which will identify the person as an officer or a director of the company, or you can look at the Director or Officer Registry. That'll also identify them as a director or officer of the company. And then the second thing they want you to do is just to make sure that company is still a valid operating going concern. So you can do that by getting a copy of their recent tax assessment from Revenue Canada, or you can do it by getting what's called a corporate status certificate. That costs a bit of money, 30, 40 bucks, not a big deal. You can get that and order that online. So again, a company, identify both the individual in the individual form and also the company on the company form, the entity form. And secondly, look at two source documents. One, to make sure the signing authority person has the right to sign the document. And number two, that the company is a going concern right now. Okay. Now from there, what I wanted to focus in on is third parties. So we're often asked, what is a third party? How do I identify a third party? So the best way to think about it is a power of attorney example. So if you have a client who has a power of attorney, the power of attorney is the actual client. So you're going to use the individual ID form for the power of attorney. The third party is the person that is the power of attorney is working for. So that could be the person who is away, could be the person who's incapacitated. So again, third party is the person who's not going to be signing the offer, but they have an influence or involvement in the deal. The person who's your client is the actual power of attorney, the person who's going to be signing the paperwork. Okay. One other thing I wanted to talk about was just the concept of business relationship. So business relationship was a newer thing that we had to deal with from FINTRAC a few years ago. A business relationship is really when we have a client we've done a transaction with more than one time in 5 years. And so FINTRAC wants us to do more with those clients. So if you could please, on the individual ID form, always fill out that they do have a business relationship, because you may not be aware. They may have done a transaction with another Realtron agent before and you might not be aware. So just assess them for risk. Make sure you always get their current ID, so driver's license, passport, even if you know or believe they've had a transaction within the last 5 years. And we as a company at Realtron, we also have to do sort of a macro analysis of business relationships. So we'll do that as well. But for you, our Realtron agents and staff, please make sure that you do the business relationship assessment for risk on the form. And that's it. Wasn't too tough. Thanks very much. Take care. Cam Forbes.